I'm here in Japan where I went to shoot a video blog today, and it turns out that it's raining pretty badly, as you guys can see. Give you a little shot of skyline from where I'm staying. Nice and rainy and wet, but the show must go on, so I'm gonna go shoot the video blog anyway. So you know, these are my accommodations. Like most things in Japan, small but nice. Everything that's messy and out of place belongs to me. And then we go to what's really small, which is the bathroom. Extremely small, but nice enough. And the kitchen, as you can see. I'm told by the girl I brought back here that this is very typical for Japan. So I thought I'd show you guys around there briefly, give you a little bit of an idea of the country and what my experience has been. As we head out on our journey together, I want to introduce the theme of this video blog, which is language and communication. This is going to be the constant theme, as it's been the constant theme for my trip. So what you really focus on is what is language, what is meaning, and where is language useful, where is it not useful, what does language do and what doesn't it do? Because that's been the real interesting lesson from this trip. This is the first time I've ever been to a country where there is not a predominant amount of English spoken, and so I've had a lot of interesting language and communication barriers, which I want to share with you, and I want to share with you my lessons from them, both in life and in game. One quick lesson that I want you guys to see before I get into the main lesson of this video, which is going to be how to game foreign girls or girls who don't speak English, is look around you here. You may notice some of the stuff's in English, some of the stuff's in Japanese, but if you look specifically at the stuff's in Japanese, you'll notice that some of it you can kind of tell what it's all about, and some of it you can't. And that's because obviously without the language there's a lot of meaning lost. However, you can tell a lot based on font, based on pictures, based on that sort of thing, and that's the equivalent to subcommunication. So the key idea here is that you will lose some of the meaning, but there's still some meaning that remains, and most of that meaning is going to be the emotional part of the meaning, which in game is the most important part. Now, the logic can't be overlooked, but it's not everything. Okay, so now I've brought you inside for the main lesson of this particular video blog, which is how to game girls in foreign languages, how to game girls that don't speak English, or don't speak whatever language it is you speak. I'm going to tell you my particular method. I'll say this is the first time that I've actually been to a country where there's so little English spoken, and had to make the big adjustment. I was actually very, very concerned about it for two reasons. Number one, that obviously I wouldn't be able to communicate as well. Number two, I've always sort of had a difficulty with really shy girls, and I assume that a lot of the girls here would be very shy based on my experience in Singapore and my experience with Asian girls in the United States. So I was very, very concerned, and what I actually did, which I think is very smart proactively, worked out okay. I didn't end up using it as much as I thought I would, but it ended up being very, very helpful, is I made a list of the words that I thought that I might want to use. Now, interesting what went on the list from my pickup experience. It wasn't a lot of logical words, it was a lot of emotional words. So off the top of my head, the words were yes and no, which obviously you're obviously going to need in almost any language. Girlfriend, boyfriend, love, hate, taxi, party, drink, cute, things like that. In any case, you, me. So anyway, every word was a word that had emotional content, all right? Because I knew that I wouldn't be able to use whole sentences. I knew that I wouldn't be able to communicate complex ideas, but those words, those emotional words, communicate quite a bit very, very quickly. So the idea here is not to try and understand everything a girl's saying, not to have some sort of deep discussion with the girl, but to communicate the ideas that are most central to pickup. When you're doing a pickup, most of the dialogue in your own language will be random facts, random bullshit, just exchange of information that actually isn't that related to the man-to-woman part of the interaction. And then you throw in the man-to-woman stuff as spikes in the interaction, as things to generate positive or negative emotions, as things to generate connection, compliance, commitment, those sorts of things. However, when you're gaming in a language that's not your own, you can't have that broad array of content. So what you're going to do is you're going to make almost the entire conversation out of the spikes, and then you need to fill the silence with things like physicality, body language, gestures, smiles, even silence. Silence and eye contact can convey quite a bit. But the point is that you're not going to have that ability to have those deep communications. So don't try, just deal emotionally. And don't worry about repeating yourself. You can repeat the words love, hate, like, cute, girlfriend, boyfriend, many, many times, and they still have the same meaning. Because when you're talking in your own language, you're essentially communicating that same idea many, many, many different ways. You can say, you know what, I thought you weren't so cool, but now I kind of like you. Or you can say, hey, you're kind of cute. And they both are positive emotional spikes. So the key thing on an emotional level is not that you communicate a lot of facts, but it's that you get the spikes right. And so that's what you need to be doing. You need to be calibrating the situation, calibrating the girl, and looking at the emotional aspects of the communication. Now, obviously, when you're communicating in this completely emotional and illogical manner, something is going to be lost. And let's talk a little bit about what that is and where it's important and where it's not important. My experience while I was over here was that in terms of getting attraction with the girls I actually talked to, I did okay. Now, let's be clear. First, a lot of girls just wouldn't talk to me because I didn't speak the language or I just wasn't able to get the open. So we're talking just about the ones where I was able to get the open or where they were patient enough to deal with me and let me get through, the first stumbling few seconds. That's always going to be an obstacle when you have a language barrier, and I don't have a solution for that as of right now. The best I've come up with as a solution for that is to try and use your body language a lot, try and open non-verbally, try and have like a smile, a look, a wave, some sort of compliance and initiation before you start speaking so that they're already locked into the conversation. And that helps a lot in terms of getting over that initial hurdle, but it's still not 100%. My opening percentage here in Japan has been far, far, far less than it would have been in the United States. And I don't know that there's much I can do about that. But again, the idea is use your facial expressions, use your body language, use those sorts of things in order to generate a lot of positive reaction before you start talking, because you know that once you start talking, there are going to be a lot of hurdles. So that's how you deal with that. The major obstacle I ran into, though, once I was in the sets, once I actually had run the sets a bit, it was not getting the girls attracted. The girls got very, very attracted. I think partly I'm told that they like the white eyes, which helps. But the other thing is that the emotions were there. The emotions were there, and in fact, trying to figure out what I was saying, I had my little cheat sheet of words that I'd go through, and it'd be silly with them. We'd try and figure out words together, and it became sort of a game. So it actually became a lot of fun, the fact that I didn't speak English. However, where I would fall short a lot of times is in dealing with friends, especially dealing with guys in the set, and dealing with logistics. Because those are areas where you need to be on top of things. Those are areas where there is a good deal of logic being communicated, and obviously if you don't know the words, if you don't know what you're communicating, that becomes very, very difficult. And especially in the case of guys, it's someone who's not there to be patient, not there to help you out, and is not going to like play your little game with you. So that's where I seem to run into big, big, big obstacles. In fact, the 2 days that I was here and went out, I ended up pulling the first night, and then the second night I was excruciatingly close to pulling, and then I ended up in a situation where some guy got involved, and essentially it was an AMOG situation, and I couldn't compete because I didn't speak the language, because any idea I wanted to get across, I just couldn't get it out there quickly enough or efficiently enough. And he could code over me in Japanese. He could, obviously the little like cute little cheat sheet thing, it's cute for the girl. It's not so cute for the antagonistic guy. And also it's very, very hard when you don't know the language to remember the words when you're dealing with something in that heightened of a situation. So I ended up losing out to a lot of really bad luck in that particular case. It's a situation that I don't know if I would have been able to handle it in English, but I certainly would have had a much, much, much better chance. So I'm kind of pissed off about that. But the thing is, in that situation, obviously, you can't communicate logical ideas. You can't have an argument. You can't win an argument with pure emotion. So that's when the logic part of it comes in. The other thing is with dealing with the friends, right? It's very easy for you to generate good emotions in a girl. However, when you have to explain to the friends that you like each other, or explain to the friends that you're safe or you're non-threatening or you're going to take her and bring her back, those sorts of ideas, those things that build comfort, because a lot of comfort is built based on logic and time instead of silliness and sort of like one-to-one communication, eye contact, body language, those sorts of things. So it's very, very easy, well, not very easy, but comparatively easy to communicate to the actual girl in question. Very, very difficult to communicate to friends, particularly guy friends, and a little bit difficult to explain what you're doing, where you're going, although that can be done through leading. through just taking a strong lead, being confident in yourself, being sure of yourself, and dealing with the objections as they come little by little, like it's no big deal. In fact, to a certain extent, obfuscation or lack of information can actually be to your advantage in dealing with logistics, because in English they can ask you something like, where are we going, where are we going? And they know that you understand them and they know that you can give them a direct answer. Whereas in another language, to a certain extent, you can act like you don't know or act like you're just going to show them. For example, in English they say, where are you going? And you say, oh, just over here. They say, no, what kind of place is it? You're kind of stuck. But if you're speaking Japanese, or they're speaking Japanese and you understand them, they say, what kind of place? You probably don't understand. You're like, no, this way. And you can just continue to lead. You continue to use the body language and continue to use the emotional, non-logical communication to your advantage. So in that sense, it can actually be turned to an advantage. However, I will say overall, for dealing with logistics, it's not the best. So to briefly summarize, how to game foreign girls in other cultures, other languages. These are the main points, the main takeaways that I would give you. Number one, do your homework. Knowing 10 words, and in particular 10 to 20 of the right words, makes a massive difference. In fact, in an emotional sense, if you learn 10 to 20 of the right words, you can communicate just about everything you need to, at least from a man to woman perspective. Now, you won't be having, intense dialogues and debates, but you can communicate most of what you need to for a man to woman situation. Okay, so do your homework. And it's okay to have a cheat sheet. It's okay to pull it out. That's just playing up the novelty. In any case, you want to play up your advantage. Your foreignness is a disadvantage, but it's also an advantage because it's novel, it's unique, it's funny. It's an experience for them in the same way that it's an experience for you. So play up the novelty. What you can't fix, you feature in any area of game. Okay, so do your research, get ahead of it, play up the novelty. Also, don't worry about being perfect. Game is never perfect, but in particular when you don't know the language, game is going to be far from perfect. So don't worry about it. Embrace the awkwardness, embrace the funniness, embrace the humor of the situation where you don't know each other. Again, play up the experience. Also, this is kind of negative, but stick to bread and butter scenarios, because where your language is going to let you down is going to be with logistics, with friends, with guys involved in the set, that sort of thing. Try as much as you can to avoid those situations or to get through them early in the set rather than wasting a lot of time and then finding out about them later. Because, look, you just want to be efficient. Fact of the matter is, the ones that you're gonna, well, in general in game, the ones you're gonna sleep with are mostly gonna be bread and butter situations, not the crazy, flying behind the head, over the legs, flipping slam dunk type sets anyway, right? But in particular, when you're speaking a foreign language or not speaking a foreign language, what you're going to get are the bread and butter sets. You need to just do the bread and butter basic things really well. Don't fuck up the little things, and don't worry about the crazy ones, okay? So avoid the crazy mix sets, avoid the situations where the logistics are incredibly difficult, avoid the situations where you're dealing with guys in the set. You're just not probably going to get that without speaking the language. Even if you get close, even if the girl wants to, you're going to have a really hard time justifying things logically. You have a really hard time with the obstacles that come up. That's, again, my big frustration from this trip. So stick to the bread and butter sets, do the basic things right, and play up the novelty of your situation. What you can't fix, you feature, okay? Also, use the fact that you're foreign as a great excuse for anything you do wrong. I'm so sorry. Oh, by the way, that's another one that was very important to learn on my list. Just kidding, or so sorry, something like that. Very useful, because you will overstep, but use your foreignness as the reason. In fact, here in Japan, a lot of the times when girls and guys are dancing, they're dancing like further apart, not as sexually as in America. But what I told them was like, I don't know how to dance Japanese, I dance American. And they maybe understood me, maybe didn't. But I think they got the idea dance and American, and understood the idea of what I was coming across with, okay? So keep it simple, don't fuck around, don't make the big mistakes, and don't worry about being great. Do your homework, and most importantly, have fun. When you're on vacation, you want to have fun, and when you're in game, you want to have fun. With whatever you're doing, if they can tell you're having a good time, if they can tell you don't care very much, that's going to do a massive amount for your communication, because most of communication is the idea that it's man to woman, and then the idea that you don't have an agenda, the idea that you're just having fun. So if you truly are just having fun, that's going to make a big difference. So go out, try it, have fun, let me know how it goes, and it should be an adventure at the very least.